My baby whispers in my ear, sweet nothings. She knows the thing I like to hear, sweet nothings. The things she wouldn't tell nobody else. Secrets, honey, I keep them to myself. Sweet nothings. Nothings. We walk along hand in hand. Sweet nothings. Yeah, we both understand. Sweet nothings. I'm sitting in the class trying to read my book. My baby give me that special love. Sweet nothings. That's enough for tonight. Sweet nothings. Sweet nothings. Sweet nothings. Sweet nothings. Sweet nothings. Sweet nothings. I'm talking about the sweet nothings. Sweet nothings. Sweet nothings, baby. Sweet nothings. Sweet nothings. Come on, baby. Sweet nothings. Oh, yeah. Sweet, sweet nothings. Sweet, sweet nothings. One, two, 1, 2, 3. It can half get hot in the south of France, but I'll take my wife there cause she likes to dance. There's a whole lot of kings and a whole lot of cunts, you know what I mean. It feels great with butts in your bin. Feels rotten when you can't get nothing. Still, I suppose you gotta start real small and give yourself a chance to amount to something. I'm a poor man's rich man, ain't got no dough. A van full of livers, but me van won't go down the M1 to sell to someone we both know. He's the boy with the landlord strutter. He's the boy with the landlord strutter. I'm just a poor man's rich man, but they call me a thief. It's only a little bit of everything. God, Christ, that's all I need. We take it blow by blow. We're a lot of chaps that can't say no. Look, I don't want your checkbook, boy. Give me cash. A cart on each arm with 5 pounds of ash. Or I'll get Big Ronnie to make your lorry crash, and that's all. He's the boy with the landlord. Oh, we're poor man's rich men, we ain't got no dough. A pocket full of levers and a van won't go. We got good credit, but the old bill said it. Oh no. people that I've seen. And the places that I've been. It's rough out there. It's tough out there. I believe I had enough out there. It's cold out there. It's cold out there. Love it ain't what we been told out there. They shot my hero in the streets. And as I think the world still weeps, it stands to serve my memory. Oh, because he meant so much to me. Don't you know, don't you know, don't you know it's tough out there. It's tough out there. I believe I had enough out there. It's cold out there. It's cold out there. It ain't what we been told out there. It's cold out there, but let's be kind. Cold out there, but never mind. All on your state of mind, like a magnet. Rain, if my time would come again, I guess I'd do it all the same. I point no fingers, tell no lies. I wouldn't stand behind her and advise. It's rough out there. It's rough out there. I believe I had enough out there. It's cold out there. It's cold out there. Lord, it ain't what we've been told out there. Come on, it's rough out there. It's rough out there. I believe I had enough out there. It's cold out there. It's cold out there. Lord, it ain't what we've been told out there. It's rough out there. It's tough out there. I believe I had enough out there. It's cold out there. Cold out there. Lord, it ain't what we've been told out there. It's rough out there. Tough out there. I believe I had enough out there. It's cold out there. Cold out there. Lord, it ain't what we've been told out there. Rough out there. Tough out there. I believe I had enough out there. Cold out there. Cold out there. Lord, it ain't what we've been told out there. Rough out there. Tough out there. I believe I had enough out there. Cold out there. Cold out there. It ain't what we've been told out there. Oh yeah. Rough out there. Tough out there. I believe I had enough out there. I ain't lonely no more. Got a woman, got a kid, I got a whole lot more. Can't be lonely no more. Got my own backyard, heck, with my own front door. Lonely no more. Can't be lonely no more. Lonely no more. How can I pay what I want now? I ain't lonely no more. Lonely no more. Lonely no more. I ain't lonely no more. Sat by the fire with my brown dog on the floor. Get that. Can't be lonely said, go so far, but take it slow. Inside your bed, it feels much better. I thought you ought to know. Oh, I need love, I must be crazy. I need love, I must be crazy. I need a woman to make me lazy. Last all my life. Ooh, they say I'm a fool, but I'm honest. I guess that I ain't got no tact. Let's see who can last the longest. Who'll be the first to crack? I need love, I must be crazy. I need love, I must be crazy. I need a woman to make me lazy and last all my life, all my life, all my life. I don't know why we still live together. By now we should have had enough. But we keep each other warm in the worst of weather. I guess we're still in love. Oh, baby. They say you're 50, you say 45. You know you're 57, but you're glad you're still alive. Give Rover a slice of your coconut ice. It don't cost much, but it sure tastes nice. Happy birthday, birthday girl. Happy birthday, birthday girl. Happy birthday, birthday girl. What's not growing old, can't you tell? Birthday girl. The screen door's slamming, the rain keeps raining. There's a cold wind blowing, gonna drive you insane. In your new party dress and your braided hair, but all the makeup when there ain't nobody there. Happy birthday, birthday girl. Happy birthday, birthday girl. Sing a song. Happy birthday, birthday girl. Ain't got no cause to wish you well. No, no. Try to keep hold of what's not growing old, can't you tell? So every year her birthday rolls around, but growing older, Lord, that ain't what she found. She knits her world through eyes plain and pearl. She don't care if her hair don't curl. Happy birthday, birthday girl. Happy birthday, birthday girl. Sing happy birthday, birthday girl. Ain't got no cause to wish you well. Happy birthday, birthday, happy birthday, birthday girl. Happy birthday, honey. Happy birthday, honey. Happy birthday, birthday girl. I know that
So Beehive Cottage, you had the temporary flat in London, and then Golders Green. And from Golders Green, you went off to America. Presumably that was because Steve owed sort of lots of money in taxes.
We came up to find out the management of Humble Pie had never paid any tax.
Yeah.
Steve, he had no business then, but he hired these people. The Anthony was like a father to him.
Yeah.
Assumed everything was being taken care of because Steve really did not receive a lot of money. Say, every time he would talk to Dee and he needed money, Dee would say, I'll send you $5 grand. But for tax reasons, I invested your money, he said, in a park. And he bought the place, Brock's Rest in Nassau for the band.
Yeah.
All that was supposed to be for tax. Well, Steve had no idea, no concept whatsoever that he owed it. And then while we were at E5 is when, Laurie was finding all these things out for us.
Yeah.
Come to find out that Anthony had never paid tax. And that as far as we were told, they told us Steve owed $500,000 in tax, when he had no concept whatsoever that he owed it.
Yeah.
So that was pretty devastating. I mean, like I said, he was receiving hardly any money being on the road and stuff, and all that was supposed to be for tax reasons, tax shelter.
So we're going off to America was sort of forced upon him, really.
Pardon?
Moving to America was sort of forced upon him, really, with,
What?
Yeah. What about, you've gone over to America, this is in 78 pounds. Can you tell me a bit about that? I mean, where the different places that you lived and...
Well, we had met a girl named Chris Carney, in England, a great girl, and she offered for us to come to Santa Cruz, where she lived, and we could stay with her.
Mm.
So that's why we chose Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
California was a hard.
Yeah.
That I don't know about talking about. It was a hard time because of the tax and things.
Yeah.
It was told really too late.
Yeah.
So he wasn't doing any performing. He was supposed to just kind of stay quiet until everything was eased off.
Yeah.
And it was very hard on him. So then he flew Jim and Dawn and Scotty Wright and Dave Hines came. And they all lived with us.
Yeah.
And which was I love all of them. Yeah. All of us were broke.
Yeah.
But instead of feeding a child and a wife, feeding 6 people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, that was hard. We had a little home in the subdivision first.
Yeah.
Then we moved up to a Ben Lomond, it was called.
Yeah.
It had been a preschool or something. It was laid out really nice. And the whole band lived there. That's when Leslie West came.
Yeah.
And then from there, things got really bad financially, and so all the guys, Donnie went to work in a studio in Modesto, and Jim and Dave and Don went back to England. And then we lived in a little cottage up in the mountains in Boulder Creek.
Yeah.
And we were just there. That was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Things had kind of settled, and that's when he started talking to Jerry about reforming Humble Pie.
Yeah. So
from there we moved in.
The business with Leslie West, the original idea was to put this band together, wasn't it, from the firm?
You mean put there together in California?
Yeah, with Leslie West.
Yeah.
But that obviously never happened.
No, that never happened.
No.
No, they recorded a couple of things together, and Leslie lived with us, and it's terrible too.
That's what too.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, Leslie hid food and things.
Yeah.
Was always fine, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, he was an extremely funny man, and a terrible prankster. And I don't think Leslie didn't take to his pranks. Steve thought it was funny, but Leslie didn't thought it was funny. So, no, they never, nothing came of that.
So when we go from California then?
From California, we went in December to spend Christmas in England.
Yeah.
That was the best Christmas we ever had, and that was after he stopped to Lieber and Krebs. And then we went directly to New York. Yeah. And then he started the Humble Pie thing.
Yeah, and done 2 albums. Went on tour, and that was reasonably successful at the time. Was it?
The first album, it was started off really well.
Yeah.
They just didn't get any publicity,
yeah.
And they were playing in rat hole places, and Steve's health was starting to decline.
Yeah.
He had problems with his intestines, spit up blood quite a lot.
Yeah.
sick. The first album did pretty good, I think. It was okay. And then the second album, they got Gary Lyons to produce, who had done something before. But it was more of a party. It's crazy in the studio. And, you know, when you hear the songs without all the mixing, they were wonderful. But by the time the album, you know, Steve's voice was screaming. You know, he liked that kind of Metallica sound, Gary Lyons.
Yeah.
And Steve could do that kind of voice, but he was much nicer when he did small face kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he wasn't real happy with the way the album turned out at all.
Yeah.
You know, it was too rash. It wasn't really even a humble pie. It was more heavy metal.
Yeah.
And Steve wasn't happy with that. So, after that, it fizzled.
So it fizzled. I mean, I know Steve had this health problem when he was hospitalised with an ulcer, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, is that one of the reasons why the band split? Because
No, another thing is, I think Lee McBeth lost faith in them. The second album flopped.
Yeah.
And there was no interest anymore.
Yeah.
So it was more or less, you know, there was no interest with the band. The band wasn't interested. He really didn't want to reform Humble Pie, but it was necessary to make money. He always just wanted to do his own thing. That's all he ever wanted to do. So he was forced into all this reforming the band to pay the rent.
Yeah.
Never happy with that.
So you was living in New York during the time of those two Humble Pie albums, was you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not New York City, was that upstate, was it somewhere?
First we lived in upstate.
Yeah.
The first year we were in New York. We lived in Mayo Pack.
Yeah.
And then we moved to the city. We lived in Greenwich Village on 11th Street, but it was sick.
Yeah. And then after that Humble Pie lineup broke up, for a period of time after that, Steve was still touring with various people calling it Humble Pie, wasn't he? Do you know people like, do you know a guy called Keith Christopher? And,
yeah, no, I think all
like
that happened when we came to Atlanta.
Yeah. I don't know, I know that...
He didn't really tour with anyone except Humble Pie while we were in New York. And,
yeah. So once Humble Pie broke up, done the two albums, broke up, and you're still living in New York, where does it go from there then, Fan?
There's a little edge. Things started really getting bad when we were in the city in New York, and I wanted to leave. I wanted a separation. We had separated for a little while, and then we reconciled while we were in New York, and I just couldn't do the life anymore. I couldn't do it. I couldn't take care of him and Toby, and so I wanted to come to Atlanta. So originally, it was just supposed to be me coming to Atlanta. I know that he went over to Keith's house. Keith gave him $5,000. And so he came home. He said, I'm giving you this money so you can start fresh in Atlanta. And I said, that's great. It was always my hope that Steve would stop drinking and everything would be wonderful. But until he stopped drinking, I couldn't live with him anymore. So as I was getting the things ready to leave for Atlanta, he came and said, I don't have any money, and I can't stay in New York, and I'm coming with you to Atlanta, which I wasn't really happy about, but he promised me things would be different if we got to Atlanta, that he would stop drinking and start getting serious again and start getting his head together. When we got to Atlanta, things didn't change. In fact, he started going to edges and started meeting all the crazy Southern people, which are crazier than English people. And we were virtually saw each other in passing. I got a job as a flight attendant again, and started seeing my old friends. Had nothing to do with music. I trying to just get a simple life again. So I saw Steve passing, basically. I don't even know much about what he was doing, you know, when he toured, because I was trying to make my own money. You know, I wasn't asking him for anything, and I didn't want to be around those people anymore. I'd had enough of it. So and he was getting crazy. I mean, Atlanta was crazy for him. We reconciled probably 3 times in Atlanta, but Atlanta, I would say, was at his worst. You know, he started partying, and he was out of his element with these good old Southern boys. I think was hanging around really bad crap. I wanted part of it.
So musically, in some of the bands that he was playing with at that time, you wouldn't be too familiar with.
I didn't go on the road with him one time. To a couple of shows in Atlanta. I couldn't even tell you who he was playing with because that I'd come from a trip. And he would be, you know, in there drinking with some of them, and really I just didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And I just didn't want to know. To be honest with you, by then, no, I just had enough. It was back home. I was back in normality, and I just didn't want any part of it. I think he was really getting out of it. It was pretty bad for him. I was happy that he came. We came, and I was happy that he stayed there because, like I said, I never stopped loving him. I just couldn't lose him.
So you was actually, you and Steve were still together right up until he came back to England?
Yeah, we reconciled. Steve had, you know, that was a iffy kind of time. You know, for the 9 years I was with Steve, I wasn't really wise. I was more like care of him. I was always the one that the phone call would come get your husband. He's for days. I was the one that would bathe him, try to keep him straight, give him soup to make him well. And in Atlanta, was living, you know, in Griffin, found a place. We lived downtown in Atlanta, and then I left there, and he went with Deb and Mike Martin, who Mike was a friend of mine. And they moved to the country house in Griffin. And then I didn't see him that much. I just saw him maybe once a week. I'd take Toby there, and, you know, we would talk and try to work things out, or I'd see how he was doing. And then he had a girl named Bunny living with him.
Yeah.
When we reconciled, he called and asked if I could help him get rid of her because she was just a teenager, which I was livid about. I think she was only 18 years old. And he said, Pam, if you could just help me on this one. So I literally came back to get rid of her.
Yeah.
So we reconciled, and she left, and that's when he kept saying, we need to go visit England. Let's go to England. Let's go to England. I kept wondering, why is he so adamant about going to England? So that's when we were on the plane, and he told me that, I guess her name Terry was pregnant in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I said, I just can't do this. And so I stayed a week in England. I was at Dickie and Joe's, and then I came back. And he called when I got back and told me he wasn't coming back. And I said, I'll go to the house and get your guitars and do whatever I can to help you. And when I got there, the house was empty. And that's when I made a couple of phone calls. And they said that he had owed the money. They took all of his stuff. They took everything we had.
Really? So when he came back to...
I left that alone, too, because I did not want to go there. I did not know who he was messing with, what kind of people they were. I knew his guitars and everything was gone. I know, you know, Steve being Steve, rather than tell people in England and his parents, I know he told them that I took his money, that I left them, and poor Stevie, and they were all going, oh, that bitch. It's fine with me, because they were always good people, and I'd rather them think a lie than know the truth. Which is, you know, I know you're taping this, but I hope you know, John, that these things I'm telling you in confidence, because I don't think even for you need to be putting some of this out.
No, not so. I mean, when I get some of this down on paper, I'll send it across to you.
Right.
But
and everybody, you know, I've read these things, and nobody ever, you know, they would say that Steve was a party animal, and they said that he drank, but nobody ever dove into the fact of what caused all.
No, that's
none of this had happened. We were extremely happy when we had our happy day.
It's incredible.
You're dealing with somebody that had worked his entire life, and that had lost everything, even the right to play music, and the fear of that, and to look around at people. You know, we went to Alvin Lee's, for example. Now, there he is, big house and car, and he said, I've been playing since I was 16, and I can't even feed my child. And all these people have everything, and he was so bitter about that, which he had every right to.
Must have been, mustn't it?
Absolutely, because, I mean, I'm telling you, you just have no idea how we were. I mean, literally have nothing. And all those years just gone down the drain. And he was so bitter about it that, you know, there was nothing either one of us could do. I mean, the reason I stayed for 9 years, I loved him, but I understood why he was the way he was. It wasn't that, you know, because I had a lot of friends go, why do you put up with it? Because basically he was the most charming, lovely man in the world, And there were reasons behind his insanity.
Yeah.
And that's why we stuck it out together, because we kept thinking, well, with this band, the Reformation, everything's going to be okay. We would be so happy thinking things were going to work out. And then he'd get screwed again, just constantly worrying about money and having nothing. And so then that just intensified his drinking. And he was, awful.
So once he actually came back to England in, was it 1984, wasn't it, to live?
January the 27th, 1984.
So you basically, you had no more contact with him after that at all?
After that, we had contact, kind of bitter. Of course, there was
I suppose the fact that you got sons.
there was a lot of other things not to get into, because we weren't divorced. I don't even know when we were divorced. I never signed anything, and I never hassled him for anything. And I heard that he got married. That's the only way I found out I had no idea. Know that, if you don't contest a divorce or something in 2 years or whatever. So as far as I know, we were divorced only probably a week or a few weeks before he married Tony. And I did have I saw him a couple of times, and we had a great time together, and, lots of tears, but, I was here, there. It was different. And, I would say probably up into 88, if Steve had called and said, I've been drinking and everything's wonderful, we might have even been okay then.
Possibly, How was his relationship? I mean, what was he like as a father? How was his relationship with Toby when Toby was young?
He had no relationship.
He didn't really, no? Because Toby lived with his
Toby is a very, Toby, bless his heart, poor child has been through hell. There were some days when he was fine, but I think Steve wasn't really into kids that much. He didn't know really what to do. All he wanted to do was wait for Toby to be 15. Because, he had this idea that he and Toby would play music together. And he hadn't even spoken to Steve in a year and a half. And Steve called here the day before he died. The day before he left L.A.
Did he really?
He talked to Toby. I had mailed him a letter saying that, to try to remember that we once loved each other, and that I'm not wanting anything other than he had a son, and TJ was greatly affected by this. That his dad didn't even call him, didn't even act like he knew him. So Steve called here, and my husband Will talked, and he thanked Will for taking care, because Will's been Toby's dad for years. I started dating Will in '85, so he was more of a father, and Will had a confrontation on the phone with him, and he said, look, whoever you are, don't impress me. You're a son of a bitch for what you've done to your kid. And apparently, from what we're getting, I got from a roadie, I think that kind of affects him. And he talked to TJ, and TJ had already started playing the guitar, and they had a wonderful conversation. And on the plane going back to England, I know that he had told Tony that he was going to start being a better father, and they had a quarrel. And I think it might have had a little bit to do with whatever.
To do with that,
There's not any doubt in my mind that he and Toby would have become close had he. But he couldn't be it. Like I said, every day we had to worry about how we were going to feed Toby, much less have fun.
Exactly.
Like I said, the man was tormented, and he had some lovely days with his son, but it was difficult. It was difficult for Toby. This is a very hard thing for Toby.
Definitely,
I said now that he's playing, and he's starting to get a little successful here in Atlanta. He would give $1 million to have the chance to play with his dad. He'll never have that chance. And so Toby's a very withdrawn, quiet kid. I don't know where he got that from. Must not have had any time to talk between me and Steve, because I will say Steve and I were famous. We couldn't get a room cleared out in about 10 seconds. We loved hard and we fought hard, but we had funny times together. As I said, between the two of us, TJ's so different. He's so quiet, withdrawn. He's just a sweetheart. But it affected him a lot.
Yeah.
It all affected him a lot.
What was
None of us expected Steve to get this well known after he died.
No.
He always said he was going to be. He always said, as soon as I'm dead, I'm going to be famous again. And I would laugh about that. He goes, you think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
But nobody knew. I mean, once he passed, I mean, it's not something we don't think about every single day. TJ and I talk about it every day. But and you know, it's just hard to deal with the fact that we'll never see or talk to him. But he knew it. He knew it. He was very intuitive.